Welcome everyone to our webinar today. It's gonna be about dynamic news connections release that we have just presented recently. And my name is Oksana. I'm the Customer Support and Success Manager at ShortPoint. And I'm joined today by our amazing guys, Glenn Faison. He's our Senior Software Engineer. And Yvette, she is our tech content writer. Hello, guys. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Glenn.
Hello, Oksana. Hello, everyone. We are excited to be hosting this webinar today to showcase the latest news connections you can use to display dynamic news content on your intranet pages.
Thank you, Glenn. We are going to make a little tech announcements now so that we ensure that this webinar runs smoothly for everybody. So first of all, I would like to say that this webinar is recorded and we will share the webinar recording after the webinar for everybody. All participants are muted right now, but we will unmute you and you'll be able to ask your questions in the end of the webinar in the Q&A session. Also, we would like to engage with you and we would love if you could submit the questions in the chat box down below. So it's either the chat box window or the Q&A window. You can click one of these buttons and ask your questions and we'll get them answered. And one more thing, which is new, we are going to be using some polls today because we would like to know your opinions on some things. So when I announce that there is a poll, you will have answers on top of your screen and you could select just one. And afterwards, we will be announcing some results. So let's get right into it. We are talking about news. And Glenn, what do we have in store for our participants today? You're muted, Glenn.
Within the next 30 minutes or less, we will give you an overview of what is considered news in SharePoint and how they were previously added dynamically to your page. Then we will introduce you to what is new and give you a demo of the freshly released ShortPoint news connection types and the all new use case feature. Finally, we will answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Glenn. We would like to start immediately from our first poll. And we would like to know what news is the most important that you use on your SharePoint pages. So what news content is the most used in your SharePoint tenant? Is it the senior leadership messages and announcements, or maybe it's some company news, organizational news, some updates? Maybe it's news from your department or from your functional division. Maybe it's team or project news. So it's like from a larger to more specific types of news we go. Or maybe it's just another type of news, just completely other types of news. So we're launching our poll now. And you can vote on your screen. Please, guys, vote. Let's wait for 1 minute and we will proceed. I see we have definitely a favorite option already. Okay, 6 people left to vote, 5 people. Okay, I think we're done. So can we show the results, please? Yeah, we have a winner. Glenn, can you announce the winner, please?
So minute is up and thank you for your responses. The Top response with the most votes is company and organizational news and updates with 17 votes. That's 68% of your votes, followed by departmental and functional news and updates with 16% of the votes. That's 4 votes, followed by other news with 8% of the vote. That's 2 votes. And then team project news and updates and senior leadership messages and announcements, each with 4% of the votes and 1 vote each.
Thank you, Glenn. So let's stop sharing the results. Thank you all for your answers. So let's get into the demo and let's actually talk a little bit about news. So what do we mean when we are talking about news in SharePoint? We essentially mean the news posts and the news links. And I'm sure every one of you has experience working with those. From your modern page interface, you can create news posts or news links using the new button. So news post is just like a separate page that you can fill up with content, and a news link is a link to any page in the internet that already contains some news, so you can display them easily in your SharePoint site. Now, what did we use before to connect to those news? How did we present them on our pages with ShortPoint? Before, we could use the current site connection or other site connection, as well as we could use the REST API connections. And I would like to demonstrate to you now how it was before, so you really see the difference of what we had before and what we have now. I'm going to a modern site in my environment, which looks like this. And I have a blank space here with an element that is just a blank slideshow, and I would like to be showing my news here. For that, I'm going to be using the connect feature in ShortPoint. I'm sure you know about that. But how do I actually connect to my news? I have my news here, if you can see. Lots of news on my site. But how do I put them here? So I had to use the connect feature, and I ideally had to know where my news are stored, in what list. Most of you know that news are stored in site pages. So every piece of news you create, they are mixed together with the site pages. Let's open up the list of my site pages here. So these are my news, but the problem is that they are mixed up with site pages. For example, both of these, I'm absolutely sure it's a site pages, and home is a site page, and news. But I don't want to use site pages here. So I would need to filter out my news somehow. And let me show how I did it before. First of all, we would need to show another column here. This column is called promoted state. So for being able to differentiate between the news, we activate the promoted state column. And we would have all site pages marked with 0, with the property of 0 in promoted state. And we would have the news marked with the property of 2. This is SharePoint's default way of differentiating between two types of content, between site pages and site news. Now, to be able to filter them out, I would need to filter by this column and only include number 2 here. And then I would have to save this view to be able to use it further. But one more thing, if I would like to show my news with those nice images here, I would need to do another thing. I would need to add another column. I would need to show a column that is called banner image URL. So I click that, I click apply, and here we would have banner images. Now, to save this view, I would go here save view as, let's say, news only. And only after creating this view, I could proceed to my page and actually make the connection possible. So I'm going to my page, and I used to edit my page. Let's wait till it loads a little bit. Yep. Yeah. And I would open up the settings of this slideshow here. Go to the Connect tab of my element. Just a second. Yeah, here it is, the Connect. And here I have current site, I have other sites, so I could use one of these. In my example, the current site. I would choose the site pages here. I would select the view that I just created, which is the news only view, and I would connect. And as you know, we would map some items as in all connection processes. It's connecting. Not sure why it's taking so long, actually. Let me try once again. Maybe it's because I just created a new view, not sure. Let me quickly reload the page. Okay, let's try once again. So I'm editing the slideshow. Connecting to, again, site pages, news only view. Yeah, it got connected. Now, as you know, we have to map the items. I'm clearing this out. This is from an old connection. Now, I would have to map some items here. And what I would select here is I would select the file name of my news to show the title. And let's preview. So before we had this problem, if you select the file name, it gives you the name of your news, but it's with those dashes. And all news have those default dashes that SharePoint just includes. And if you want to get rid of them, you would have to manually edit the names of news. So this is one disadvantage. Another thing is I would want to retrieve my image. As you remember, we just created this banner image column here to retrieve the image. So I'm selecting the banner image URL option, and it should give me an image. As you can see, it does give me an image, but the image is of low quality. And I remember we were receiving tickets about that. Let me show you a bit better. If I make it fully transparent, you would see it even better. You see, the quality of this image is poor and it's pixelated and doesn't look nice. This is the image. Now, if I wanted to add some description, I don't have what to even put here because there is no description column here, and I would need to add another column here, and I don't even know if it exists, to be honest. So many disadvantages we had, but in the end you could do it. You could put it here, and you could, after all this long process, you could save the page, and you would have these news looking like this with those dashes and with those images. Now that doesn't look very nice. So another option that we could use here was, let me show it to you right now. I'm not sure why it's doing it to me today. It's usually like that when you train and practice. It works nicely, but today it's a bit slow in the webinar. I'm sorry for that. So let's edit the slideshows again. Another option we could use here is, if I disconnect, we could use the REST API. But for using the REST API, you have to have some technical knowledge. You have to know how to build up a basic REST API query. So that's not very straightforward as well, as you can understand. And this was a little bit of a challenge. Now, let me return back to our presentation, and I will tell you what new connections we have. We are actually presenting them today. So we have 3 new types of connections: the site news connection, the hub news connection, and the org news connection. All of these are created for you to retrieve the news effortlessly without going into the site pages list, without preparing anything. Site news connection allows you to retrieve the news from your site, from the current site you're building on. Hub news connection allows you to retrieve news from the hubs, all of the hubs that you have in your tenant. You can connect to them and retrieve news. And org news, the one which you actually voted for today, we will be demonstrating it. The organization news allows you to get news from all of your tenant under the condition that you're allowed to see those news. If you have permissions for those news, you will retrieve every piece of news on your whole entire tenant. So before we go to the demo, Glenn, I would love if you could just give us a bit of technical background on what we need to remember about with the new connections.
Okay, so thank you, Oksana. So as Oksana just mentioned, the most basic restriction we have is for you to be able to access news in your connection, you need to be able to access, you need to have viewer rights on that news article. So if you have permissions to view news, to view articles from a certain subsite, then it should be available in your connection. And if you do not have permissions to view those articles or anything within a certain site collection or site, then you will not be able to see those in your connection. Now, some other two technical specifications. We use SharePoint's REST API and SharePoint's Search API to gather these news items for the connection. Using the Search API is real-time or immediate, and this means immediately you add a post to your site, you can get it available in your connection. So once the news post is added, you don't need to update anything, and you immediately have it visible in whatever connected ShortPoint element you are using. Secondly, we're using the SharePoint Search API, which is not immediate in this case, and it takes maybe 5 to 15 minutes to get the data up to date. And once you add a new connection, a new news item, the amount of time which you need to be able to see these news items in your connection is subject to your SharePoint search configuration. By default, this, like I had said earlier, is 5 to 15 minutes for the crawler to start. Also, we will introduce some smaller features, smaller but also just as awesome, which are placeholders and use cases. We will explain them as we go further with the demo.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Yeah, we will show a little bit of use cases and placeholders right now. So let us start with the actual demo of the new features right now. I'm getting back to my page, which I hope is going to be not that slow. And I see that in the list of my connections, I have 3 new connection types: site news, hub news, and org news. Let me start with a short demonstration of site news, which is just the same I showed now, but in this new way. So first of all, we are prompted to select a source of our news here. And remember, by the way, all of this is now possible without you having to remember about this thing. So you forget about the site pages list completely, and you just start from here. So you are selecting where you want to source your news from. Current site, other sites, or if it's not present for some reason in the list, you can indicate a custom URL here. That's in case you didn't find your site here. But in other cases, in my case, I'm just selecting current site. And I can select to go with the entire site collection. So it takes my news from my sub-sites as well. I can go with only this site without subsites, or I can go subsite by subsite. So I can actually select to display only news from the subsites. This is one of our subsites. We can go just with it. I'm going to go with my entire site collection. I can indicate an item limit, let's say 3 news, 3 latest news. I can sort, and I can show items by descending order. It means that the latest news will be shown first. Another cool feature here is the default image. So in case ShortPoint cannot retrieve your original image that is in your news by any reason, I don't know what happened, then it will replace it with an image you put here. So it's not going to just show the broken image icon or anything like that, but you will have a nice default image for all of these news. You can indicate a time format. You can actually modify the time format for your news. And we're going to press connect. Now we are going to go to map the items. So first thing you remember, we had titles with dashes. Now, if I select to map the title here, I have the title without any dashes, except the ones that were there originally, like this. Now, another thing is the image. Now we have 3 options to select from. We can select a thumbnail image, a medium image, or a large image. In case I have a small image on my page, in case the element gives me small images, I can use the thumbnail images, and it just saves loading time from my page. I don't want to overload it with excessive big pictures. But I actually do have a pretty big slideshow, so I want it to be of very good quality, nice and crisp. And I'm selecting large image URL here. And let's see. Look at this. The quality is so much better. I'm going to go again and make it fully transparent for you guys to see. Look, The quality is just great. I hope you see that. And so I'm choosing the large image for my news here. Now the description, I have an option to map a description here. Look, without any columns or site pages lists, and I already have some description like this. Now, if I want, and of course, usually we want to make our news clickable. So after you click on the news, it takes you to the original article. We would want to provide a link here. And we can have this button by default. It looks like that, but we can also modify it with some other text like this, read more, or we can write whatever we want there. And we would have it like this. We can select a linking option as in all our elements. Like, for example, I want my news to be opened in a lightbox. And click update. Now I'm saving my page, publishing it. And let's see what we will have. Here we go. Here we go. We have our news here from this site and from, I'm sorry, I think my element didn't update. I'm really sorry for that. I feel like my SharePoint is really misbehaving. I don't know what happened, but you've seen yourself that I was changing it. Sorry for that. Okay. So where it's connected to? I think it still somehow gave me the old connection. I really don't know why. Sorry about that. Site news. It's going to be like a double demo for everybody who missed the first time. So just getting back, pressing connect, getting the description here, the link, the text preview.
Remember, we need to get the title.
The title, yes, of course. It's still from the old one, yeah. And we have been indicating some limit here. So just to make it the same.
I think we still have the old image.
Yes, thank you, Glenn. Large image. Update. And okay, fingers crossed. I have no idea, guys, why it's not saving. I'm sorry for that. I guess it was just working fine before we started today. Well, I think you got the idea. I just wanted to save the element for it to be on the page, and I don't know if I should try again. Somebody says, Rodrigo says, don't worry, we believe you, it was working. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thanks for your trust. So you got my idea. Let me actually try to do this in another element here on this page. So let's pretend it's the new element here. Let's work with this guy, the image list here. So I just wanted to show that we can use this connection across different elements, not only, of course, in slideshows, but images list is also somewhere we can use this. And let me show the organization news right now. So I'm connecting. I'm selecting org news. So when you select org news, you don't actually select the source because it's by default the whole of your organization. I don't want to indicate any item limit. Let's say I want all news, just all news. As well as I can, again, select default image, select the time format I need. And we have a little bit of information about use cases. Glenn, maybe you can tell us a bit about the use cases here.
Yes. So use cases here are just a template for the setup that you are going to do for a connection. So in this case, we have a few here, for example, selecting news items that were recently created or recently modified, or filtering news items by author. These are things that you might have to set up otherwise with technical knowledge, but here there's a pre-set up for you and you can just do it on the click of a button.
Okay, yeah, we actually have, yeah, the placeholder appearing here, right? After we select the use case. And
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, in this case, we want to select news items which were recently created, and normally we require a date here, and we would want to enter the most the oldest date, or the date for the oldest news item which we should be able to see. Normally we would have to just enter a simple date, and we would have to come back to it every day to refresh that date in order for the news to be up to date. So this is where placeholders come to the rescue. Placeholders, as the name implies, are just segments of text which will substitute for something else. In this case, they will be replaced internally by more meaningful values. In this example, we have a use case that requires a date parameter, and we want to only display news for the past 7 days. And for example, here we specify the 25th of May, which was 7 days ago. And that sounds simple. But the downside is, like I said, we will need to keep updating that daily. And I would say that's a bit stressful to do. So this is where the today placeholder comes to the rescue. We can use this placeholder to represent the date of today. And every single time we will open our page, the today placeholder gets replaced by the current date. So even if we open it tomorrow, the date the today placeholder gets replaced by the date of tomorrow. In addition, we can use some simple math to get future or past dates. We can write today plus 7, and it would give us the 8th of June, that's 7 days from today, or today minus 7, which gives us the 25th of May, 7 days ago, or today minus 1 to get yesterday's date. The advantage to using this placeholder is that you never need to manually update the date limit. This is just one placeholder out of many, and you can read more about them by following the link we will share in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Yeah, we're going to share a link in the chat now to an article which actually explains the placeholders. And yes, so we can, for example, make this 10 days from now or whatever. I will apply the parameters. If you don't mind, guys, I'm gonna transfer to a newly opened page because everybody is advising me to open up a new page if that page was not working really well. So let's try on a new tab right now. I hope it helps us. So we were modifying this little guy here. Okay, org news. Now item limit we didn't indicate, but we indicated the recently created filter 10 and apply and connect. Okay, now I'm gonna get rid of this old information that was here from the default settings. And now again, I'm mapping the title with the title. I can actually make a subtitle to display the date when the news were created. I can also set the image. So we are now using pretty small images. So I think the thumbnail image is enough, as you can see. Some description. So it looks like this, okay? And some link, of course, news URL. And fingers crossed, it's gonna be saved. Let's see. So it's gonna be here. Yes, finally. So you can see we didn't indicate a limit and there is a lot of news from the past 10 days. But because we have the responsive tabs here, it already created this nice scroll. So you don't have to take care of, you know, cropping and truncating this element. So it's already all here with that scroll. And that's it. Now to finish this, because I don't have any piece if I don't make this guy the new one, so I need to replace it. Let me try it one last time. I hope it works now. Why is it so slow? Okay, I actually think we can do a poll right now while this is thinking. So we have another poll here. We would like just to ask you if you found this these new connection types useful for your organization. This poll is anonymous, and this is just we are collecting data for our internal use. So if you could just please indicate if you find this useful or not, or you're not very sure. Yeah, thank you so much for actively voting. You're so active. Thank you, guys. It's so nice. Let's wait for 10 more seconds. Yeah, I see a lot of you say that it's useful. Thank you very much. Thank you. I guess we can end the poll. Okay. And let's proceed to the Q&A section right now. We're ready to answer some questions. Yvette, I would be happy if you could assist us with the questions. And while you're doing that, if you don't mind, I'll just be setting that thing up on the background. So we have it ready.
Okay, so thanks, Oksana, and thanks, Glenn. That was a great presentation, albeit the problems that we're having. But yeah, so one of the first questions that probably would come up in mind is which version is this particular update available? And is it available already in the latest public release?
Yeah, if you're on auto upgrades, it should be available to you, or if you install the latest release manually, it should be available to you. So the number of this version is 7.3.0.7. It's the latest one, and you can already use these connections on your environment. If it's not available, then maybe you're not on auto upgrades, so you can test this in sandbox mode. And if you want to apply this version, you can upgrade to it.
Okay, thank you very much. And there's also a question, will use cases be available in other connection types or only for use? Because Rodrigo thinks it looks very interesting.
Of course, yeah, Glenn, maybe you can answer, yeah.
Yes, so in the upcoming releases, we will be having use cases available in other connections.
Yeah, in all elements, right? In other elements, we will have it throughout all the product. Yeah.
Okay. And Viola raised her hand. Let me just allow Viola to talk. Viola, you can go ahead and ask your question if you have.
Viola, you have to unmute yourself, and then we will hear you. Hello.
Well, if you are not able to, please feel free to write your question in the chat. Oh, it was an accident. Sorry to put you on the spot. Sorry about that. Okay, so so there's another question. Can we move where the title and other elements display on the slideshow? So this is from Roberta.
Can we move where the title is displayed?
Yes,
yes, we can. Let's see. So we can actually, as far as I remember, I'm not sure if it's available here, but definitely with custom CSS, we can provide you with an article about that. From the settings right here, it looks like we just have two styles here. Let me quickly connect and show. 1 second. So finally, okay. Yeah, so two default options we have is when the title is displayed here down below, like this, or the one I was showing before is title first, which looks like this. But with custom CSS that you can put in here, you can actually move it around. So if you would like that, you can just drop us a message at support@shortpoint.com and we'll just provide you with an article how to do that.
okay. And there's one more question. So the title and descriptions are grabbed from the contents of the page?
The titles and descriptions are grabbed from the actual titles and descriptions that you have in your news, which you created previously. Let me quickly show you. So every time, yeah, finally I got the new element showing up here. So the titles and descriptions are grabbed from your news lists, which is this one. So every time you create a news post, let's say, you will have this template to create a post with, and you can go on, add a title, news title, and the description will be taken from your page content, just from here, let's say. So it's going to be taken automatically from here. And every time you create this new piece of news, you can connect to it, and you can have it on your page. As Glenn mentioned, it takes from 5 to 10 minutes to connect to it because of the search properties. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, so let's have the final question before we go and end this webinar.
Sure.
So yes, so we know that SharePoint has its own news web part. Why would we use this one over the out-of-the-box SharePoint news web part?
Yeah, Glenn, maybe you want to answer this one?
Yes. So the SharePoint news web part is a little inflexible in that when using the SharePoint news web part, you can only pick up news items which are within the same site, and you can only show them just a few ways. Meanwhile, with our connections, you will be able to make information from news articles available to any element from wherever in your site. So, for example, with the organizational news, no matter where you are in the site, you can access all news articles available to you within your tenant. Also, with our connections, you can now make available information from news items to any ShortPoint element you choose, rather than just using it with one element like the news element.
Thank you, Glenn. I also see that Roberta is mentioning that, yeah, so we can, that she saw that we can make modifications with CSS, and she's asking if we could add more options to display the title in the slideshows. Yeah, I think we can and we will, and especially in the new visual builder, you will be able to move things around by dragging and dropping. So I really think that there will be more options. We will put it into our feature request list, and we will answer you about when you can expect that. Thank you.
Okay, there's actually, I'm sorry I wasn't able to look at the Q&A section of the webinar. Odewole Mayo, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, is actually asking, like, it seems to be difficult to synchronize the latest update uploaded to app catalog across the sites. So what should be done, or what can be done in this one?
I'm sorry, to synchronize the latest update
in the app catalog across all sites.
So I think here what he means is getting, like before the automatic upgrades, getting a new package and then uploading it to your site catalog. I hope I'm getting it right. I'm getting the question right. And to answer that, right now we have a new type of, a new way to upgrade. That's by switching on automatic upgrades in your site. You can now immediately get the latest release whenever it's made public without having to do any extra thing. So immediately you make a release, you can begin to use the new features or fixes.
Okay, and the question from Ocean is that the current version that she's in is 7.3.0.7 and enabled auto upgrade. So does she have the feature already available?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do. Just go to the Connect tab and you'll see 3 new connection options as I just shown. Yeah, anything else?
I
Yvette?
don't see other questions anymore.
I see another question from Roberta. So she's asking, what ShortPoint elements can connect to news using this connection technique? And can I use the accordion, for example? I would say you can use any ShortPoint element.
Any element you want, yeah. Every element that has the connect option, which is most elements, they have this. And accordion including.
Yeah.
And there's another question. What is used as a fallback image and description if a user doesn't have permissions to the page that the news is sourced from?
So what is showing in case I don't have the permission to see that piece of news?
So if you do not have permission to see a certain piece of news, then the connection doesn't work. So you get an error which tells you you do not have the permissions.
So it's impossible to establish the connection in this case. Okay, thanks, Glenn. Thank you guys for your awesome questions. It was so nice to interact with you. We hope to make ShortPoint products and releases even more interactive in the future, and we really hope to engage more with all of you guys. Oh, but the user will only see what they have permission to see without seeing an error.
Oh yes, if there is other stuff to see, so if there are other news items you could see, for example, if you use organizational news, you may not have permissions to access every single site within the organization, but there will certainly be a number of news items you can see, and you will see those, error.
So basically, if I'm opening a site where we have this connected, I, as a user, can only see the news that I'm allowed to see, right? And all other ones are not visible for me. Right, Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, we have another question from Roberta. I think the backend only returns news you have permission as a user, and SharePoint would get only what that user can see. Yes, exactly as we just told. Yes, thank you, Roberta. Okay, can we wrap up? I think we are going a little bit over the limit. Wow, it's like 1 hour already, guys. It's really, really nice to talk. Yeah, the recording will be available, Viola. Yeah, we will send the recording over to everybody who participated, and also for everybody who didn't participate, for everyone. Thank you very much for attending. We plan to have more amazing webinars and features, actually. Features are more important. So we will have more features, and of course, we will have more webinars on these features soon. Thank you all for attending. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Thanks for your feedback. If you have any more feedback you would like to share, just message us at support@shortpoint.com, and we will be glad to receive it. Thanks, guys. Oh, somebody else says he asked a question. Please treat. Do we see it?
So the question is, if there are audience targeting set on the news pages, how will ShortPoint handle the display?
Audience targeted.
If audience targeting here, I guess, would just simply mean that some people have permissions to see those news articles and some other people don't. In this case, what will be available to see from the connection would be dependent on the user, that's on the designer. So what the designer makes available is what everyone looking at that page would be able to see. So what is visible depends on the user, on the designer's permissions.
Yeah, I think we actually can prepare an article about that, specifically about permissions in news. That would be useful. We can release that. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. We will send the recording as well as some Q&As over to you. Have a beautiful day. Take care and see you. Bye.